You're in a perfectly normal conversation and someone says something small like, "Don't be so sensitive," or "You're overreacting," or they just say the one I really hate the most, which is, "Calm down." And instantly you feel this negative shift. Your chest tightens, your face gets hot, you're either about to cry or you're about to explode, or you just go blank inside. You don't know why it hit so hard. You're telling yourself it's just a few words, but your body is reacting like something dangerous just happened. And this is what it feels like when trauma symptoms get triggered. Not by something huge or abusive necessarily, but by ordinary words that seem harmless to everyone else. And if you grew up with trauma, especially emotional neglect or criticism, there are phrases that go straight into your nervous system like a punch. And the person saying them might not mean any harm at all, but your brain learned early certain tones, certain words, certain patterns. They meant that you were about to get hurt or blamed or abandoned. So now those same words can bring up the same fear and rage and shame. And even if you're 40 years old or 60 years old or 80 years old, and the conversation is technically polite, your nervous system is reacting like it's under siege. And here's the worst part. Other people don't see it. They think you're just being difficult. They don't get why you suddenly look tense or you go cold or you get defensive. And they might double down and say, "Wow, you're really overreacting," or "I didn't mean anything by it." And just like that, you're not only triggered, but now you feel crazy. You're not crazy. The dysregulation that's kicking off in your nervous system is now just seeping into your emotions. And that's the kind of dysregulation, emotional dysregulation, that other people can see. If you haven't learned yet how to re-regulate, if no one showed you how to come back to a calm place when something reminds your body of danger, this is the kind of situation that can just keep repeating over and over at work, with friends, in your relationships, and it can absolutely ruin things. So let's get into this, because once you understand what's really happening, you can stop attacking yourself and start focusing your efforts on the one thing that needs your attention, which is your nervous system. When you can come back to that, to your sense of connection to your body, to being right here in present time, you can remember to use your tools. And I'll tell you what those are in a minute. So you can stop lashing out and pause your reactions until the intensity comes down. And then you can get regulated. Your cognition comes back online, your emotions begin to flow again, and your perception comes out of overwhelm. And then you can see and hear again what's really happening around you, whether there's really danger, what's really going on with other people. This is different than just controlling yourself and suppressing your feelings. You're pausing to get perspective and to come back into yourself so that you can skip the dysregulated reactions you've had so many times and instead decide how you want to handle the situation at hand. You just recovered your agency, and that's what healing trauma symptoms looks like. Agency is your ability to make a choice, to be able to act on what you believe is in your best self-interest. That's agency. And when you realize that you have that, it takes away a lot of the helplessness, a lot of the identification with, I can just never stop this. Somehow I just attract all this trouble. It's like, you have agency. You can avoid these problems. Now let's talk about actual words, because there are certain phrases that I hear again and again from people, things they were told when they were kids or in toxic relationships or by people who had power over them, words that got stuck. And now, even decades later, these words still hit a nerve. So you're too sensitive. That one alone can destroy your confidence. It's not just critical. It tells you that the problem is not what happened. The problem is that you felt what happened, that you had a reaction to what happened. If you got blamed for reacting to bad things when you were a kid enough times, you may still flinch every time someone says phrases like that right now, or they say, "Come on, it's not a big deal," or worse, "You're making a big deal out of nothing." Now, if you grew up in a home where your needs were dismissed or your pain was minimized, this kind of comment feels like you matter less than other people. And when you're dysregulated, your nervous system registers this as danger. Why didn't you just do something different instead of getting yourself attacked? Why didn't you just date somebody nice instead of getting into an abusive relationship? This is the one people will often hear at work or in relationships, and it's usually meant to be helpful. Well, couldn't you have just done the thing that I know is obvious to not have this problem? But when you're in a trauma response, it can feel like an accusation, like you've messed something up that everyone else knows how to fix, but you were just too stupid to fix it. That's what it's implying in your mind anyway. Or they say, I'm just trying to help. And this one often shows up after the damage is already done. And the person says something hurtful, you react, and then they say this. And maybe they were being passive aggressive, or maybe not. Maybe you're overreacting. But either way, you're now expected to let it go. And if you don't, the blame then shifts to you because, I don't know, you weren't grateful enough or you weren't quick enough. It can feel like emotional gaslighting. Now, let's be clear. People can say all of these things and mean good things. They mean no harm, perhaps. Some of them are trying to help. Some are just repeating what they heard growing up. But when you have trauma symptoms, especially emotional dysregulation, those words hit like a rush of poison in your bloodstream, like a warning bell. Not because of what they mean in the present, but because of what they meant in the past. And this is the core of it. Trauma is what happened to you before, but trauma symptoms are what you're dealing with now. And emotional dysregulation is a major trauma symptom that I see in people who grew up with abuse and neglect or constant stress. I did. Maybe you did. But here's the thing. You're not bad. You're not trying to be dramatic. You're dysregulated. And there are things you can do to heal that. Hey, I've got a quick invite for you. I made a free daily practice course that shows you 2 simple techniques to calm the storm when you're triggered inside. It's short, it's powerful, and it helps you feel clearer, more focused, and more at ease, fast. Click the second link in the description section below, or use the QR code right there, and you can start your course right away. What do you do when someone says something that feels like an attack, but isn't technically? Well, first, notice the spike. That feeling in your body and your heart racing, your stomach dropping, your jaw clenching. That's not drama. That's a signal. That's your nervous system shifting into survival mode. And the 2 worst things you can do in that moment is 1, to act like nothing's wrong, and 2, to blow up and blame the other person like it's the worst thing in the world. There's a middle way, and it's to pause. Now, I know better than anyone, if you could just calm yourself like that, you wouldn't even be watching this video. It's easier said than done. I'll tell you, though, what you can do to arrest the intensity of dysregulation. I have a whole course called Dysregulation Bootcamp. You can find that on my website. And there's a link if you scroll down in the description section. But I'll give you 3 emergency things that you can do. 1 is, say to yourself, I'm dysregulated right now. That's 1. When you just admit it, when you can just say it out loud, it helps to put it in perspective. Okay, the world may not be spinning, I'm dysregulated. Number 2 is take a break. Once you know you're dysregulated, remove yourself, take a break, go into the bathroom, go into another room. In some way, step out of the situation that's feeling overwhelming to you. You don't have to prove you're right, but you do need to use your tools. And that's number 3, is to go ahead and start using tools to help you get re-regulated. So you admit it that it's happening, you step away from the situation, and you use your tools. This is the goal, to come back to a calm place so that you can respond like your regulated and real self, not your traumatized and dysregulated self. Now, you may have ways to do this. Going for a run, standing under a cold shower, dancing to music. It's usually not to get into a confrontation with the person you're upset with. Just give you a word to the wise there. That can come later when you're regulated. So to get re-regulated, the thing I do and that I teach to all my students is writing my fears and resentments. I have this very specific technique. I do it followed by a very simple meditation. I call it the daily practice. And if you haven't learned it, I encourage you to learn it. You can always get that in the description section, second link below the video here. I use a very specific format that protects me from the way that just venting about stuff I'm upset about can make it actually feel worse. And I can teach those to you. It's in the course. It's also in my book, Re-Regulated, which you can get at reregulated.com or on an online bookseller, basically anywhere in the world. It's in 7 languages now, including English. So I write and then I meditate. And usually upon coming out of meditation, there's a combination of like releasing the stuff in writing, resting in meditation. Insight often comes. So what got triggered in me and why starts to become apparent sometimes. Like, is there something that I need to understand about that? Or do I need to do something like apologize or set a boundary or get away from this person? Or do I just need to keep practicing and releasing it and I don't need to do anything? Happily, that's often the case. I like that. I like discovering that nothing needs to be done. You know, a feeling came, it passed. And then what's true and real can come into focus. That's everything. You can begin to see your next move. That's also the next best everything. To see what's true, it comes in focus. You see your next move, and when you've taken that first step, the move that comes after that becomes visible to you. And next thing you know, you're making progress at a good clip. So when you're doing that, you're getting your power back. You start to realize that what hurts so much isn't always what was said. It's what it reminded you of. It's about the old things that were touched off in their sub-memory, not just your memory, but down underneath your memory, sometimes even before you had words. It's just kicking off old wounds. It's underneath what's happening now. It makes it very hard for other people to help you with it. It's an inside job that you do yourself. Anything that upsets you usually has a tangle of fears involved. And when you know that, you can take positive actions to release that and to start setting the situation right again. Apologizing, speaking up, course correcting, healing your trauma symptoms doesn't mean that you don't get to, make choices. And it doesn't mean that you never get triggered again. You do. It means you learn what to do when that does happen. And it does tend to happen less over time. You stop blaming other people for setting you off. You stop making excuses for the damage it causes. And you start taking full responsibility for your healing, because no one's going to do that for you. There's a lot of talk out there about being triggered. And yes, like that, do you trigger me? That triggers me. And yes, some people do use it as a way to avoid responsibility. But in my experience, the people who are suffering most from triggers, they don't want to live like this. They're exhausted from it. They're losing relationships. They're stuck in cycles of shame and rage and confusion. And they want a way out. This is the way out. You start noticing what sets you off. You learn to slow down before you speak. You recognize the old trauma reflexes showing up in new situations, and you make choices from your regulated self, not from the memory of old hurts from long ago that you were too dysregulated to process at the time. And you've been projecting them on everything today. That's often what's going on. It makes it hard to really see what's real. It makes us overreactive. It makes us sensitive. It's the thing that puts a kernel of truth in those things that people say. So we deal with it. Now, you're not wired to be reactive. I promise. There are no wires inside you. It's all you. It's just your body, your nerves, your muscles, your blood flowing, your electrical pulses. You're not broken. You don't need an IT guy to come in, fix you. And you're not stuck like this forever. What you're dealing with are very normal trauma symptoms. And trauma symptoms can be healed, but only when you stop expecting other people to make that happen for you, to walk on eggshells for you. You got to stop expecting them to control what they say around you. Stop telling yourself that your dysregulated behaviors are always someone else's fault. If you can't handle their behaviors, just don't hang out with them right now. Hey, it's me, and real fast, if you're watching my videos and wondering if maybe past trauma is having an effect on your life today, I want to share with you a list of signs that what you're struggling with now might be connected with neglect or abuse in your childhood. It's good to know this because it can help you know that what's hard for you right now is normal and that healing is possible. You can download my Signs of Childhood PTSD quiz by clicking the top link in the description section below or using that QR code right there. It's not your fault that you were traumatized, but your symptoms, your dysregulation, your outbursts, your shutdowns, those are the things only you can change. And the moment you start treating them like your responsibility, the moment you stop making excuses and you start getting honest about how trauma wounds are still running your life, that's when real healing can begin. That's when a lot of people start to feel hope for the first time. You have less dread, more to look forward to. Less anger and less people-pleasing and perfectionism, less avoidance, You get to be more you, capable of connection and calm. You start to have a choice over your responses. You get to show up in life with clarity and strength. You don't need to be perfect to get there. You start where you are. You don't need your trauma resolved. You just need enough inner strength to take one clear step, and then the one that comes after that, which you might not be able to recognize until you've taken the first step. That's how it starts. That's how it builds. You're not broken. You're not behind. You're right on time. You're healing. And this right now is what healing looks like. If you liked this video, I've got one you're going to love lined up for you right here, and I'll see you very soon. Today, what's happening is your own behavior. And the worse you were hurt back then, the more likely it is that you have a pattern of hurting yourself now.